Bitewing Games has brought us two small box games in the Mythos Collection. We have Iliad and we have Ichor. Now, both of these games designed by Reiner Knizia, and they're two-player only strategic warfare gems. Now let's start with Iliad. Now Iliad is the Trojan War. We have Hector of the Trojans versus Achilles of the Greeks, and this is just a battle for the ages. Now we're going to be placing down tiles on a 6x6 grid, and we're trying to win rows. Now these rows are going to try and win us the favor of the gods. We need to win 5 different gods to win the game. Just madness. Now let's go over to Ichor. Now this is Mount Olympus and the Greek mythology monsters. They're coming to take over Mount Olympus, and we are the gods and we are trying to protect Mount Olympus. Look, if you love chess, well, you're gonna absolutely love this. This is an incredible, I guess, variant of that type of game, but it is so much better. Some guy back in the day called Homer created 2 very important poems. He created the Iliad and he created the Odyssey. And both these poems together talked about the story, that battle for Troy. And that's the game we're playing right now here. Trojans versus the Greeks, red versus blue. And we're already halfway through a game. And now let's try and explain how this game plays. Now we're going to have red here, and each person's going to have 2 tiles at their disposal anytime to be able to play on the board. And you're just going to play 1 tile down, you're going to take its action, and then it'll go over to blue. Your purpose here is to try and win rows and columns. So as we can see here, one of these rows has already been won, and whoever wins it gets to choose either of the tile on either side. They can be able to collect that, and then you're trying to collect gods. So let's go over here. So we've got 5 gods that we're trying to collect that actually we need to collect. Let's be more specific. We're going to have Zeus and Athena and Apollo and Poseidon and I think Aphrodite. I think all of those great gods, well, we need all of them. So if we get at the end of the game, we get the most points, but we don't have all of the gods in front of us, well, we win absolutely nothing, and maybe the other person wins. Maybe they had all the gods, had hardly any points, but they still win. So that's really the purpose. Now there is one small caveat here. There's 2 little marriage rings here. If you get both of them in your possession at the end of the game, that's going to count as 1 wild god. But that's really the purpose. We're trying to get as many points plus getting those 5 different gods. Okay, let's go over what are these tile actions. So the first one, we put out a 1. It means we can then reposition the opponent's tile. So that's pretty cool. 2 lets us reposition our own tile. So we put it on the board there. We can pick another tile, move it around the board. Remember, we're trying to manipulate that board to get maximum points in those rows and columns. 3 lets us swap these over. So let's say I want to swap this one over. Maybe I want to swap it here for Zeus. Well, that's what the 3 does. 4 lets us flip over 2. Now this is pretty cool because they might have a really high scoring one. You get to flip it over and they're like, bugger me. Okay, so that's what that does. 5, just worth straight 5 points. Really cool. You're gonna need them to win the rows and columns. Then we have the Dolos. Now the Dolos is special. What it does, it scores any tiles on either side of it. So this one here would score for this row 1 and 2, so it would score 3 points. This column here, so far would be worth 3 points, and then whatever I put down there. So that's how that scores. So that's pretty much it. So let's go over here. Red's got their turn. I'm going to place down this tile here. Now remember, a 1. A 1 allows me to reposition any opponent's tile there. So let's reposition this Dolos here and let's put it up here. Now all of a sudden, we've now completed the column. Now the reason why I wanted to move that is to complete the column because I know I'm winning. If I count up red here, I've got 1, 5, 7. I'm on 7 points. They're on 2, they're on 4, and that's it. So red's on 7, blue's on 4. I win it, so it means I get to choose which one I want. And obviously I'm going to choose this one here. Let's see, I think that's Athena there. And they're going to get the negative points. So that's a real kick in the guts for blue. But that's how you manipulate the board to win the game. Remember, I want to get 5 gods to win. That's pretty much it. Brilliant stuff. Let's go check out Ichor. Ichor. Ichor? It's a tough one to say. I think it's Ichor is the correct pronunciation if I was going to be all pompous. Ichor. Ichor. Greek gods versus Greek mythological creatures in a battle for Mount Olympus in a steroid-ridden chess-like version of a game? Yeah, colour me intrigued. Now, on this board here is a 6x6 grid, and this is actually the basic version. If I flip it over, I've got a 7x7 grid, which will add in another monster each and another god each, and all of a sudden that complexity, that tactical nature is going to get even more intense. Now, what is the purpose of this game? Well, the purpose of this game is to move your players around the board. They can move in a vertical or horizontal way, and they're going to move until they can't move any further, or you move them as far as you want, basically. But I have to stop if I'm going to hit into another player, or if I'm going to hit one of the edges as well. So that's pretty much the only basic information you need to know. But as you move your god or your monster, you'll then lay out a trail of tokens behind you. Now, these tokens are super important because that is the end game trigger. Once you get rid of all of your tokens on the board, well, you win the game. And that seems pretty simple, except for the fact that as you're going along, you're trying to also suck up the other player's tokens and that will give them back to them. Let me play a couple of rounds and maybe you'll get an idea of how this works. I might now move Hydra forward 1. And what the purpose of that is, I'm now blocking Zeus from going a big long turn across here in that row there. Now, the Hydra's gone their turn. What about, let's move Aphrodite up 2 here. And I'm going to move Centaur back, or Cerberus back 1 there. Let's drop them back there. And what should we do now? Maybe I might do something similar. I might draw Artemis back 1. Okay, things are going interesting. Now, Cerberus has a big long run here, so I can get rid of heaps of tokens. And these tokens are good because they're right in the back, so they're going to be hard for me to suck up. Done. Now it's my turn, and you know what? Let's follow suit. Let's do that. Let's drop off as many tokens as we can. Okay, now we're getting to the stage where there's not that many tokens left, so monsters need to really think about how can I get as many tokens as possible onto the board. Well, let's think about those special abilities. Every god has a one-off special ability that is unique to them. So each one of these special abilities is different and unique to that particular god. Now let's go monster's turn, and Cyclops has a great special ability, and we're going to use that now. So let's flip over his card, and Cyclops' special ability means he gets to take his turn twice in a row, and this is, boom, going to be a game changer here. Ready? All the way to the end here. So those come back to me. Oh God, don't do that. There we go. Those come back to me. Cyclops drops all these out behind him. And now it's going to take a second turn. Boom. 1, 2, 3, 4 back to me. And 1, 2, 3. Everything's out. And then won the game. Simple as that. I should have been thinking about that. That's crazy. I can't let Cyclops do that. That's why you have these cards here. You have all your abilities on one card. You also have all the bonus abilities, but you need to know what their special abilities are, because that's it. As soon as all those tokens are out, they win. See how simple that was? Trust me, as you play, you can play a lot smarter than that. You're going to be blocking all those paths so they can't do that. You're going to learn, the more and more you play, you're going to learn their special abilities so you know, okay, look, this character here can do that, so I need to think about that. So much tactical genius in this game. It is mind-blowing. Okay. Hang on a sec, your mind's not actually blown yet. Let me try a little bit further. How about adding an expansion to Ichor here? And what about we add in special god and a special monster that has a different win victory condition? Yeah, I like that. What about we just add in more monsters and gods with their own special unique abilities? Because the more options we have, the more we can tailor every single game and it's going to feel unique. Yeah, I like that. But the one thing I love about this expansion more than anything else is these gates. Now these gates, you're going to put 2 of them on every game, and as you go left to right over these gates, they're going to trigger special abilities. So if I went over this one, this is actually going to give me one of my cards that was flipped over. I get to flip it back again and I'll get that special ability again. So that's a cool gate to have there. This one, what about if I go over this gate? I'm going to lose that character for the rest of the game, and that sounds awful. That sounds terrible. But I also get to add out 3 extra tokens anywhere on the board. Oh, that could actually win me the game. So when you add in these gates, that is going to add even more tactical nuance to every single game, because you now need to think about what about your opponents, what they're doing, but you also need to think about blocking these gates, or you're trying to get to the gates. You just can't let any of it just go without you thinking so crazy about it. Oh boy. This is honestly the best 2-player game I've ever played. And that's saying a lot. When I talk about the vibes, I'm really talking about how does a game make me feel the very first time I play it? Then how does it make me feel the more times I play it after that? Does that feeling taper off, or as the nuances of design become more clear, do I love the game even more? Well, for me, it was that initial feeling with Ichor here. I absolutely adored everything about it as I was playing it. I was getting excited every time I'd look at my god powers and my monster powers, and I absolutely loved the design in it. It was just a fun, again, I keep saying variant of chess. It's not really chess, but it's just a great idea if you love those sort of games. And yeah, my first initial feeling, followed by my follow-on plays, every single time I loved it. And maybe I'm being hyperbolic. I'm always being hyperbolic, saying this is the greatest 2-player game I've ever played. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it's that good. It's in the running, which, yeah, very, very special. When it comes to Iliad, now, let me caveat this. I enjoyed the game. And ironically, on BGG, this has actually got a higher rating than Ichor does, which to me seems crazy because I love this more. But, you know, a lot of people really loving this. But my initial feeling was timing is everything. Like, you don't always feel like you're in control of your own destiny, because as you play, you only have 2 tiles at any one time to look at. And if one of them's pretty useless to you right now, well, then you've got no decision choice. And I almost wish there was like a third tile that could have come out that you could have chosen from and would have just added more options. So let's use this one as an example, the number 3. So this is the one when you get a scoring token, you can swap this with one of the ones in the 5 to the side. And that's a really good thing when you're trying to get the gods. But you need that in the second half of the game, not in the first half. So if this is like the first tile you draw out, well, I almost don't want to waste that ability because it's a great ability. So I'll just push it to the side, which means then I only have one option. Each time a tile comes out, that's all I got. I feel like timing is everything. And if I got these at the end of the game or midway to the end of the game, excellent. I can really utilize them. If I got them early in the game, they feel like a waste. And that's probably that annoying thing. And also this game has more of, you know, things constantly changing. So while you can plan, and you're planning obviously the best you can to get those rows and columns, you know, things move around, and yeah, it's not always as easy. Whereas this, you feel like you're a lot more in control of what's going on. Okay, so that's the vibes. Now let's talk about the cons, and let's just start with, actually, I guess we already chatted about one of the cons, and that was that timing aspect. That was probably pretty much the one thing I wish. Again, not a bad design. It is what it is. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That was, I guess, the con for Iliad there. The con for Ichor is this expansion is outstanding. And when you've got an expansion this good, I just want it in the base game. I'm not often a person who recommends expansions. I try not to, because I feel like, yeah, a lot of times this great game design should just be in the base game. And that's probably my biggest complaint. Like, this is such a good expansion. I'd want to play with it maybe 70% of the time. Like, it's that good. So I would want to recommend this to you. But the problem is, I don't know how easy or hard it is to get. If it's easy to get, great. If it's not easy to get, well, I feel bad, because there's so many good little extra things in that expansion that I want with this copy of the game. Okay, now the pros. Well, actually, one more con. Let's talk about the cloth boards. Cloth boards, not for everyone. I actually really like them. Love the texture, I love the look of them, love how light they are. Look, I love everything about them, except for the fact I have OCD when it comes to my game board being flat. So I have to go and get the iron out and iron it before the game starts. That seems like a bit of overhead. Again, pro, con, whatever you think it is. I like cloth boards, I just don't like to have to iron them to make them flat. Anyway, okay, that's enough of that. Look, again, the pros, I think it's just the fact that this is a collection that I'm excited about. So this Mythos collection, while these two are Reiner Knizia, the next two that are coming out in 2026 are going to be from a different designer. They're also going to be Asian mythology, and they're also going to be Irish mythology. I think they're Azure and Montura, maybe? Moitura? Anyway, there's a couple more coming out. I don't know if there's any more past that, but I'm excited. Like, keep signing me up to these. If this is the standard, yeah, I'm pretty wrapped. So, look, that's pretty much it. This is also the retail version. Great. Have a look how thick this is. This is what I expect in a retail version. Now, I know there was a Kickstarter. Maybe I've gone off Kickstarters lately, but I don't think you need the kitchen sink anymore. Like, these, great quality. Sure, you could replace that with acrylic, and I wouldn't ever say no to that, but if this is what you're getting in retail, value for money. So, everything I appreciated about these two games. One I loved more than the other, but I still really enjoyed both. Anyway, that's all I've got for this. I'm Hogs. This is the Bangers Project. Till next time, laters.